If it's a Saturday night after a PLE, it is Wrestling Night in America here on the PWTorch. I'm Nate Lindberg, and this is post Wrestlepalooza, the post Wrestlepalooza post show here on PWTorch. And this episode was the very first episode on. Oh gosh, I don't remember. What was the name of the app that this was?
Uh,
Kevin?
you got me. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, that's right. ESPN. That's right. It was on ESPN for the very first time,
ESPN.
as we were reminded many, many, many times over the night and over the course of the last couple weeks or so on WWE programming. Um, Kevin, Kevin Cattani, thank you very much for joining me here tonight, man, to talk some WrestlePalooza.
Listen, there are several things in this world that I love, and one of them is hanging out with you, and one of them is talking wrestling. And if I can combine those two things, how can you have a better Saturday night?
Right? Yeah, it's a great way to spend a Saturday night, my man. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. So let me run down the card here real quick, and then we'll get into the bulk of everything. We started out the night with Brock Lesnar versus John Cena. Brock Lesnar defeating John Cena, 8 minutes and 50 seconds. The Vision, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker, with Paul Heyman defeating the Usos in 17 minutes and 12 seconds. We go on to Stephanie Vaquer defeating Iyo Sky to become the Women's World Champion in 20 minutes and 11 seconds. Congratulations, Stephanie. And we had AJ Lee and CM Punk defeating Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins, 29 minutes and 18 seconds. And our main event of the night, Cody Rhodes defeating Drew McIntyre to retain his World Wrestling, I almost said Federation, wow, WWE Championship in 17 minutes and 17 seconds. I really liked this. I really enjoyed the show. There were some high points, there's some low points, and we'll get into it. Let's start with first off, let's start with, how did you wind up watching the show tonight? Obviously, ESPN, but yeah, talk about your experience with ESPN, because I did not do it that way.
Yeah, well, I had just finished listening to the recent episode of The Fix from this week, in which Todd Martin was asking that question of, how do you get on? And it's not clear. And I spent time talking to people on the phone, and nobody knew. And so I just went online and said, how do you get ESPN Unlimited? Well, I have the Hulu Live, Disney Plus, ESPN Plus bundle. So all I had to do was log in to ESPN with my Disney credentials, and it popped right up. It was a seamless video feed. There were no issues. There were no hiccups along the way. So I thought it was a very smooth thing.
Cool. No, good. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. And in the chat, let us know what, if you had some issues, because I'm curious, because there was Wade talked a lot about it last night on the post show. There's been a lot of talk about it on YouTube, Reddit. How confusing everything was. I personally, I wasn't going to pay $30 for ESPN, so Netflix and VPN was my solution for the night, and probably going forward, but that's another story for another day. But I'm glad the picture and everything was good. Like I did, at least through Netflix on my computer, the resolution wasn't super great. I was watching kind of a blurry image all night, which was whatever. All right, main event of the night. Like I said, Cody Rhodes defeating Drew McIntyre to retain the WWE Championship. I thought this match was pretty good for what it was, and when I say it like that, I mean, I'm not sure if this match should have been in the main event slot tonight. I think it maybe lived up to it, but we'll talk about it. Cody was obviously attacked by Drew McIntyre leading up to this match, and they kind of sold it with Cody really favoring his knee throughout the course of the match. Cody, like he kept hitting, springboard moves like his Cody cutter and everything, but you'd notice, he'd only be jumping off of one leg. Doing a pretty good job to sell it. At least I hope it's a good job. And, you know what I mean. I don't think it's an injury, but anyway. Drew McIntyre wound up putting his leg through the screen in the front of these new fancy dancy announce tables, and then he had a leg, kind of like a leg injury throughout the match. So it's kind of who could I don't know, between two of them, they only had two good legs. It worked though. I think it worked. Cody kind of overcoming Drew to retain. But as I said, coming into this, I personally wasn't sure if I should see this in the main event or if something else on the card might take that slot. There's a couple other matches that come to mind. Evan, your thoughts on the match, and should this have been main event, or should something else have been?
Overall, I like the match. Firstly, before we get going, hello to the chat.
Yes, hello.
It looks like there's
chat.
Some new names in the Wrestling Night in America chat that we don't usually have in our PWT Talks NXT chat. And yeah, I've been reading some of the ones here with by Cavante here. I think the commercials are going to be a thing now. I agree there were a bunch of them, but I think welcome to the world of modern streaming, I guess. So much for cutting the cord. I think I was also surprised that there was no angle. I don't put a lot of stock into what I see on the internet pre-show, but I did see several tweets floating around that that there was some innuendo that Chris Jericho might show up tonight, and so I was kind of holding my breath just in case that happened. Alas, it did not. But yeah, I think I was surprised considering how much WWE has been focusing on sort of schmozzy, interference-y finishes, that for a main event that maybe might not have been the biggest one they could have put on for Cody, that there was nothing, and I'm okay with that. I think if and I don't even really count the ref, not even a ref bump, but the ref push or whatever. I don't even count that as something. So I thought it was clean. I thought it went a lot quicker than I thought. I expected it to go a little bit longer. So I don't know if Drew actually hurt himself. Hi, CJ. We see you, buddy. I don't know if he actually got hurt by kicking through the television. So that may have been inaudible that way, but I imagine they will do another one. I thought that was a really cool. I think Cody did well to wrestle the big man style. Like, Drew is very athletic, but still a massive, massive guy. And so I thought Cody kind of came up to that well. I think you could certainly have made a case for the mixed tag to be the main event, but I know that Hunter and the gang really like to have a title be a main event, regardless of how marquee the matchup is. So I'm not surprised. I wasn't offended. You probably could have gone home on a bigger high with AJ getting her first win, but I don't think any harm was done. So.
No, fair enough. And I mean, I am a fan personally of the title going on last. So I mean, there is that. I just I don't know. I feel like between the mixed tag and Cena and Lesnar, I think I was expecting one of the two of them to go on first. I was surprised when I started to tune into the pre-show, which I only caught the last maybe 20, 25 minutes of. And they mentioned that was going to be the first match of the night. Regardless, though, I enjoyed the main event. Wait a minute! All of a sudden, I was thinking we were talking about the mixed tag. I still enjoyed the main event with Cody and Drew. We had there it is. Boomer Ball in the chat. They won't. That wasn't the
Well,
one.
yeah, go up a little bit is
It was still Boomer Ball, but it was a different comment. Boomer says, "I invited 10 casual fans over to watch the show who haven't tuned in to watch the product since The Rock's involvement on the road to WrestleMania 40. They all thought the show sucked, overhyped, and overrated." And I, I don't know. I kind of, to be honest, I kind of do agree. To a point, and I was going to get to that when I was going to talk about the mixed tag, but the mixed tag, I mean, all rules got thrown out the window in that match, and kind of same to the similar here in the main event. I mean, how long were Drew and Cody outside the ring? The refs not counting. I don't know, some continuity things with rules tonight, where the spectacle kind of was more important than playing within the rules, which is fine, I guess. It probably it makes for better entertainment and TV, I guess, to a casual audience. But for me, it's like and I'm sure for a lot of the more hardcore fans, kind of like all of us. I don't know. It takes me out of the moment a little bit. But we also David, we've also got David here tonight, co-hosting with us. So David, thank you for joining tonight, man.
Yeah, sorry for being a little bit late. I was having a few issues there, but with the report. But yeah, I'm here.
No worries, no worries. So before we move on, your thoughts on the main event and your experience with the ESPN app here tonight.
How much time do we have to talk about the ESPN app?
I mean, I've got to go to bed eventually, but we got some time.
No, I will. No, I thought the ESPN, it was a pain. It was a pain to figure out how to. I didn't care. I don't care for it, but as far as the main event goes, I won't talk about ESPN. As far as the app, as far as the main event goes, I thought that would have been a good Raw main event, possibly, but I wasn't too overwhelmed with it. I think the previous two matches blew the main event out of the water, and I don't think that there's much that they could have done to follow the previous two matches. But yeah, it would have been a good, solid Raw main event, but nothing memorable. It was good, but nothing memorable.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I felt about it. It was good. It was a good match. I mean, nothing wrong with it at all.
No.
But yeah, I was surprised it was the main event, and I think I don't know. I like Kevin said, I'm not offended that it was the main event, but I'm wondering if it would have been a more memorable ending to the show if it was AJ Lee or even Brock Lesnar's win.
Well, in fairness, now that we say that, I think that maybe the Iyo and Stephanie match should have been the main event, for as much as they were hyping.
That's also true.
How huge it was for Stephanie to win another major title in another promotion in another continent. That they gave her a lot of time in the ring kind of after that match. That could have been a good way to go off the air too. So,
I hate to say that I didn't really think about that, but I really didn't think about that. But massive Stephanie fan. Everybody, if you don't know who I am, I'm one of the co-hosts of PWT Talks NXT here on PWTorch on YouTube or on the Daily Cast. Search PWTorch Daily Cast on your whatever podcast app you use, and you'll find us. But yeah, massive Stephanie fan, and obviously we'll get there when we get there. But that was such a great win for her tonight. Very emotional for her and Iyo both. Loved the way that they celebrated together in the ring. Loved the way that she brought the title over she being Stephanie, brought the title over to her dad, sitting ringside. If you guys keep up with NXT, no, sorry, that wasn't NXT. That was the main roster where they had the little segment where they showed her dad. I mean, yeah, I don't know. There was a segment where they showed her dad. He really stole stole the show in that segment. He was kind of over the top and hilarious. So it's kind of good to see him and grab the title and hold it up over his head and just be extremely proud of his daughter. Good, very feel good moment. But yeah, anything else on the main event before we kind of move on?
No, but there's nothing to say about it as far as I'm concerned. I mean,
yeah,
it was what it was. It was serviceable.
All right, then let's
go backwards. Let's just go backwards.
Go backwards. Okay, if we're gonna go backwards, Kevin making the executive decision for us here tonight. Kevin,
a humble suggestion.
Yes. No. Sometimes I just need to be steered in the right direction. So I'm more power to you, man. More power to you. But if we're going backwards, we got to talk about a shocking announcement. We heard the gong. We heard the infamous gong, and followed by American Badass as Undertaker made his way out to the ring. He rolled down the ramp with his bike and stopped right in front of the stopped right before the ring, where Stephanie McMahon was sitting ringside. And Undertaker looked like he was about to get in the ring, turned around, walked over to Stephanie. And Stephanie's sitting, she's clapping really hard for the Undertaker. She looks really proud to see him out there, happy to see him out there, happy to be sitting ringside, like just very proud look on her face when she was clapping for him. And then when he turned around and walked towards her, she looked almost a little confused. Undertaker had a mic in his hand. I'm assuming he had it in his pocket or something like that, because I didn't see him grab it or anybody give it to him. It kind of just appeared, but he is a phenom, so maybe that's a power of his. He can just make a mic appear. That's kind of a cool power. I kind of like that. But he wound up walking over to Stephanie and started talking to Stephanie. Like I said, she looked a little confused. He stepped over the barricade and sat down in a chair next to her and started kind of candidly talking to her. Well, it didn't feel like a scripted promo. This is something that, I mean, I don't know, 5 years ago or so, however long it's been since he's been retired. I can't do math really quickly in my head. But ever since he's been retired, like I would never ever imagined him on TV in character, like sort of in character, speaking this way to anybody, let alone Vince McMahon. He tried to sacrifice her once, for crying out loud.
Forgot about that.
Right. But he started talking about how long they've known each other and kind of reminisced a little bit with her before announcing that she was going to be I believe she's the first. The first one announced for the 2026 Hall of Fame. And she was very surprised by this. You could definitely tell in her face. She was trying to hold it together, but you could see kind of the tears welling up, and she and Undertaker hugged in an embrace for a little while. Undertaker walked, they stood up. Undertaker congratulated her once again. And she was seen being hugged by Nick Khan. And I think was there somebody else?
Her son came and gave her a big hug.
Her son. I knew there was another hug in there. Yeah. So Stephanie McMahon is the first inductee to the Hall of Fame in 2026. In a way, it feels, I guess, a little bit, nepotism and whatnot. I mean, daughter of the, I don't want to say I was going to say founder of the company, but daughter of Vince McMahon, and obviously we know his legacy within the company is tarnished as it may be. And the wife of Paul Levesque. So it might feel a little nepotistic, but then there's also this other side of me that's like, well, she was a massive on-screen character for a very long time, very entertaining at times, sometimes not so much. But I mean, I personally have always liked the Stephanie McMahon character, except for when I was a kid. I absolutely hated her when I was a kid, but that just means she was doing a good job. So I'm I don't know. I think it is well deserved as maybe nepotism. I don't know, is nepotistic a word, as that might be. All right. So yeah.
Also, sorry, just a quick point out. Derek has fact checked us, and as soon as I said it, I knew I was wrong because I knew Stephanie and Hunter only have girls. So that was apparently Nick Khan's son. So good catch, Derek.
All right, awesome. Appreciate that. Nick Khan's son. Cool. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate that, man. But yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I think it was a little cringy. I know Brock Benningfield in the chat saying, "What was this segment?" I know we had another comment a little earlier. I think it was even before the show started. From Cook's.
Adam just came straight from the hip. It was terrible, according to Adam.
Yeah, Undertaker Steph, so cringe. Adam, that Undertaker, Adam Kidd, that Undertaker segment was terrible. It was. It felt so out of place for the Undertaker. Like I said, I would never have imagined him doing anything like this a few years ago. But it happened. So we have to talk about it. Kevin, your thoughts on the segment and Stephanie's induction?
Yeah, well, I think overall, I know that the Undertaker, for good, bad, or otherwise, is a very beloved figure in the McMahon family. I know he was one of the first kind of big characters, other than Hulk, that really kind of started putting the company on the map. And I know that Undertaker has expressed his love for the family as they have for him. So I liked that he was the one to do it. It definitely looked very. I think Stephanie was very surprised by that. It seemed very genuine. But I think the thing that stuck out to me, and I don't say this is a negative, but it stuck out enough that how funny it is that adults whose job is either reading straight from a script or being given bullet points, even the ones like Undertaker who are allowed to speak more freely, extemporaneous speaking is still a challenge for these guys because they're used to being told what to say. And so it was just funny, like he was struggling to he knew the point he wanted to get to about, well, you've meant so much, and he just couldn't get it out because it was like he had to shoot from the hip and he had 17,000 people or whatever it was looking at him. So I think that always, when those things happen, it always catches me that extemporaneous speech is a challenge when you're used to being given, note cards of what to do. So,
Hey, David.
I thought it was fine. I mean, I wondered where he was going. First of all, I was never a fan of the American Badass character. Never did care for that. But I know he's retired the Dead Man character, from what I understand. So it is what it is. I'm not crazy about that particular character. But obviously he stopped him right in front of Stephanie McMahon. That was obvious. He started talking. It seemed almost like he was being a little bit flirtatious with her, actually, there for a few seconds. But I'm like, okay, where is he going with this, and what's he doing? And then I realized, once he said he had the announcement to make, because of the whole candid camera thing they've been doing here lately with the Hall of Fame inductees, surprising them with it. It was a genuine moment. She was genuinely emotional. She was genuinely touched. You could tell that she was, and I thought it was fine for what it was. It was a real moment. It seemed a little bit awkward, but I mean, again, it was a real moment. It was very emotional for Stephanie, and I do think she deserves it. People are going to scream nepotism because of her last name or because of who she's married to and all this stuff, and that's fine. They're going to do that regardless, but she's done a lot for the company, and I think she's very deserving of that place in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about it. I mean, I think, like you said, a lot of people are going to be probably take issue with it. Like, I mean, there was, I mean, the fact that that was one of the first things that I thought about myself as I'm watching the segment, certainly says something. But I do. I feel like she's certainly deserving of of that. But I don't. I don't know. I think they wanted to do the segment to surprise Stephanie, because if one of the last things Undertaker said when he still had the microphone up close to their mouths was, "We got you." Um, so I think that was like what this entire segment existed for, was to catch her off guard.
Yeah,
Um, you know,
absolutely.
and
Well, and I was looking at Brock's comments about maybe it could have been a social media thing, and I'll push back only to say I think that could have been a really good Raw segment. But I wonder if didn't have any plans on being at Raw on Monday, they had to capitalize on her being at the first ESPN
well,
show. So
I think they also just wanted the first Hall of Fame announcement to happen during the first ESPN show, because
Yeah.
yeah.
it makes it that much more grandiose, I guess, in the eyes of the company, and things like that. But things that ESPN can report on and whatnot. So more newsworthy. That's I guess that's the word I'm looking for. So yeah, cringeworthy segment, but she's definitely deserving of what we got. We'll move on to, and actually, before we do that, Derek in the chat, they caught Triple H off guard last year when HBK, Taker, and Steph announced Triple H. I think it was during some sort of press conference. I forget exactly what it was. But yeah, so
wasn't it like Vegas pre-show or something?
It might have been something like that. I don't remember.
Yeah, so that's what they've been doing lately. I think they might have done that with. I don't remember who. I mean, they did it with Lex Luger. They surprised him with it. Cody walking into a session with him and DDP.
Actually, that's a good point. I forgot about that one.
That's just a thing they've been doing here lately. Kind of like the whole, like I said, candid camera thing, catching people off guard and making a moment out of it. And I honestly, I like that because you get real, you get some real emotions from these people when they're being told about it, because it is quite the big, regardless of what you think of the Hall of Fame, it is a big deal.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. And I mean, that's what the company is all about. You hear it all the time, is the company is about creating moments. So, I mean, this was certainly there, like, as cringeworthy as the segment was, there was certainly a part of me that was kind of like, like, it's kind of cool, because if you're in the know and you're part of their circle, like they got her, and they made her, they got the little rib on her on TV, and everybody had a laugh, and she enjoyed it, and it was a big moment for her. So in that respect, I think it certainly worked. But
I like any segment that's going to evoke real emotion. I mean, like I said, just in the beginning, it's like, okay, what's he doing? He's, it seems like kind of an awkward conversation. Where is he going with this? But once I realized what he was doing, then I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, exactly. All right, we'll move on to our. Well, we're going backwards, so we're going on to AJ Lee and CM Punk versus Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins, 29 minutes and 18 seconds. And we saw AJ Lee get the pin on Becky Lynch for her. No, sorry, not the pin. Submission for the win. Becky Lynch. I wanted to like this match so much. I really did. It was AJ Lee's first match back. Everybody in the match I'm a fan of. I like their work. Oh my God, this was so overbooked, I believe. And I mean, like I said earlier, they threw every rule out the window. All four. I didn't realize this was a tornado tag. They were all in the ring at the same time for forever. Sure, I guess it was entertaining maybe to a casual fan, but no, just no. Don't don't throw rules out the window like that. It was again feel good moment to see AJ Lee get her first win back in over in her first match in over a decade. I think her performance was fine. It was fine, bordering on good. There was some ring rust you could see a little bit there, but I think that's expected, and I still think she pulled it off pretty well, all things considered. And I also think it was kind of smart of them to keep her out of the ring, building that anticipation towards the beginning of the match. CM Punk, getting beaten down, handily by Seth and Becky, keeping him away from AJ Lee and let her get the hot tag and all of that. So, I don't know. It was fine, I guess, but yeah, not one of my favorite matches of the night. Like I said, very overbooked. David, your thoughts on the mixed tag?
I will disagree with your opinion. I thought it was fantastic. I absolutely loved this match. Where I can see where you're coming from with the overbooking and the throwing out of the rules, but I think because of the spectacle of it, I think that I think that overcame the fact that rules kind of went out the window there. But first of all, the heel work between Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch was just spot on. I mean, every time Rollins would get Jessica Carr's attention, and then Becky would lay in a couple of cheap shots. And that got the crowd they were so mad. They couldn't wait to see AJ Lee just come in there and pound her. And they milked it, 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 and they teased it. And they're like, AJ's going nuts in the corner. The fans are just dying to see her get in there. And man, they really took their time with this. And like I said, one thing that I'm a big believer in is heels should be heels. I don't like it when, like in the previous tag team match, Bronson Reed, started to pull out a table. The fans were cheering for it. So he dropped it. It's like, the fans shouldn't be cheering for a heel to pull out a table. They should be booing him. And Rollins and Lynch got that perfectly tonight. They got that heel work down pat, and by the time AJ Lee got in there, the fans just absolutely blew the roof off the place. And all the interaction between the men and the women, I thought was phenomenal too. I mean, it was a spectacle. Bit of a train wreck, yeah, it was a bit of a train wreck, but damn, it was a fun train wreck. It was fun to watch, and I thought they over delivered. I thought they over delivered big time. Just my opinion. I loved it.
Hey, everybody is entitled to their opinion. And as you were talking, I mean, I think you definitely made some good points. I think the heel work was pretty good. And the interactions between the men and the women, I think it played out. I mean, obviously there's, they don't want to show physicality. So they were still able to kind of bring out a little bit of physicality without kind of crossing over into any sort of intergender wrestling or anything like that.
They did it without crossing the line. Nobody, Punk didn't punch Becky Lynch or Rollins. Although, he grabbed AJ, but
I mean, he did press slam his own wife.
Well, yeah, yeah, that was a fun spot. And then when she crashed down to the mat, the look on his face was priceless.
And that sliced bread spot was pretty sweet. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe a little over, but I don't know. Like I wouldn't have thought of something like that. That was really cool. It was a really cool spot.
Yeah, it was for sure.
Kevin.
Well, I just wanted to scroll back up.
I can do that.
To Four Eyes Malone. Hello, Four Eyes. And I just wanted to say, in general, I agreed. He made a comment that things seem to that apparently Triple H mentioned needing to put this show together in a shorter time span than perhaps maybe he originally thought, because ESPN wanted to get the ground running. And so I think that was part of the issue with the main event with Cody, I think, was they had to get that interaction going a little bit sooner with a little less burn than I think they would have liked. And I think that was maybe the overall feeling of none of the matches were awful. It was just we've got to get stuff we know is going to work because they want this show and let's go. And I felt that. Now that said, I thought I'm leaning less your way, Nate, and more the other. Just to say, I think it was cool I imagine the four of them, probably both before and after, said to themselves, how cool is it that you get to do something you love with the person that you love? And then do that with another group that feels the same way. I'm sure it was a cool moment for them, like in real life. I think the thing that really sort of stuck out to me, other than how chicken poop Seth and Becky were acting in terms of like doing the last second tag, so they had to flip around and all that. I love that. And I do think that they towed the line of man v woman very well. Like I think it is definitely okay that they did what they did, and you probably could have went a little bit further. But I think to pretend that's not something that should ever happen when so many other promotions do it and do it well, I like that they dip their toe out into that a little bit. Now, all of that said, I think the thing that stuck out to me the most, and I wonder if anyone will say anything to her, but I wonder if AJ needs to think about a new finishing move. Because quite honestly, when she had it on Becky the first time, I thought Becky was doing something to her. Like the way she was kind of holding her over her shoulder and back. I thought Becky was in charge there. And so apparently this is some like a modified armbar like stretch deal. And I just wonder, because AJ is on the smaller side inside of frame in terms of frame, and a lot of the top tier women are not tiny women like they were when AJ was here 10 years ago. Is there a way to modify that move, or maybe do we need to find a new submission that looks more like she's in control of it than kind of hanging on for dear life? Because I didn't feel the pain in that move, and I think it's supposed to be something that hurts a lot. But I also, again, like I said, I think the women were a lot, their frames were a lot smaller when she was there the first time, and so I don't know if you're going to be able to do that. Somebody like Rhea, like or Jade Cargill or something like that. Like that'll be tough to pull off. So I think that was my only real critique. And I think the last thing I'll say, and then we can move on, where there were a couple of matches that were shorter that seemed longer. When you said this match went almost 30 minutes, I didn't believe that at all because it felt like it moved.
Yeah.
Pretty well for a 30-minute match. I didn't think it felt like 30 minutes at all.
No, I guess I really didn't either. Yeah, I mean, I guess you make a good point about going out there with your best friend and having fun, like and both Becky and Seth and CM Punk and AJ Lee, they're able to do that. So I don't know. I mean, I guess looking at it through that lens, like it was probably a hell of a good time for them. And I really liked the close up of CM Punk, like lying on the table that he was thrown through. And he looks up and he sees AJ actually get the win. And he just kind of gives like this quick smile before his head goes back down. And it was just like again, another one of those moments, one of those real moments where you capture emotion. It was just like he's proud of his wife. And that's something he kept talking about throughout the pre-show and some other pre-tape segments over the course of the night. I mean, it was on his jacket, AJ's husband, as part of his entrance gear tonight. Down his trunks even, he had her name and her logo. And I think, no, I don't remember if she had his anywhere, but anyway, maybe on her boots, because I know her boots had like the rainbow on the side of the boots, and then underneath on the soles. But yeah,
Seth and Becky matched too. They were matching, but
oh my
yeah.
god, and their entrance.
Oh
We got to
God.
talk about that entrance.
Yes.
So okay, you talk about a spectacle. Becky and if
Oh my
you haven't
God.
seen the show, Becky and Seth were up on this massive platform. Whoops, I hit my mic, so if you heard a loud noise, I apologize about that. But Becky and Seth were up on this massive platform, kind of like Shawn Michaels' entrance when he was wearing all white against the Undertaker at WrestleMania. This massive platform up and kind of probably above the screen, if not almost to the top of the entrance ramp, or the screen at the entrance ramp, the Titantron, if we're still calling it that. And you've got flame just shooting up all around them, coming out to burn it down, and then this platform slowly lowers. That they step off. They're both wearing these outrageous purple, like leopard print or polka dotted, not polka dotted, but
that was just some. Oh my
like
God.
sequin jackets and matching giant sunglasses, and I thought it was a great look for them, like as outrageous as all of their outfits are individually. Like that was a great look for the two of them. It's man, it's tough to pull that off. Like I wouldn't go out in public wearing that. I couldn't pull that off.
Come on, Nate, you could pull it off.
Maybe.
And you could just blame it on a D&D session if you were really worried about it. They'd believe you.
There you go.
Yeah, that's true. Or I lost a bet or something like that. But yeah. So all right, yeah. I guess there we go on the.
Some couples get together and play bridge, and other couples get together and beat the hell out of each other in front of 15,000 people in Indianapolis.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. So yeah, some couples just have some different hobbies, I guess. All right, our middle match of the night, the third match of the night, Stephanie Vaquer defeating Iyo Sky to become the WWE Women's Champion, World Heavyweight Champion. I thought this was one of my favorite matches of the night. Probably my favorite match of the night. On what was kind of a lackluster show all the way around. Fun, but in my opinion, I thought it was a little bit, overhyped and under-delivered. But we talked about that already. But this was a great moment. Stephanie, coming into the company, she came into NXT, had a very short run, but a very successful run in NXT, capturing both the NXT Women's Championship and the North American Championship, holding them at the same time, first woman to do so. She may have relinquished the North American Championship like 3 or 4 days later. I don't remember.
Say,
It was
less than a week.
Yeah. She did do that. She did do that double defense on that one episode of NXT. She defended against. She defended one belt against. I forget.
Oh, that's right. Maybe it was a week and a half then.
Because she defended the NXT title, or she defended one title in the beginning of the show, and then she defended against Jada Parker at the end of the show, and she successfully defended both belts on the same show. Then the next week is when Ava had her relinquish the title. That's
right. Good memory.
Look at David coming through in the clutch.
Yeah.
I just can't remember who the other person was that she I think it might have been. I don't know.
I feel like Kalani Jordan is in my head, but that might not be right.
One was Jada Parker, because I think the whole thing was that I think Jada was banking on her being
Brock or Derek, if you can check that for us on your Google machines.
Yeah, if anyone else can remember, please refresh my memory on that. But anyway, yeah, as you were saying, Nate.
But yeah, I mean, she's had a very impressive run so far. Derek Mitchell in the chat, says she's had a very impressive WWE run so far in less than 18 months, winning the North American title, NXT Women's title, and now the Women's World Heavyweight Championship. And that's so true. And I really think that the sky is the limit for her in this company. I mean, obviously, I mean, she just won her first world title. I'm hoping this reign for her lasts a little while. I mean, longer than her North American Championship reign did. She's so over. I mean, I've seen her in person now a couple times at different NXT shows, and she's easily one of the most over people in the building. I haven't seen her during a main roster show, but obviously, I mean, the pops. She's certainly over with the crowd, with the audience. So I think this worked. I kind of assumed this might have been the outcome of this match coming into it tonight. Nothing against Iyo Sky. She's one of my favorite female wrestlers like ever. Amazing talent. But she just had this massive run with the world title. So very long run with the world title. So I don't know. I was like, I don't think Iyo necessarily needs it again. I think it would be really cool for them to build Stephanie up. She's already and they've already been telling that story about her meteoric rise. That was part of the video packages and things like that. How she's won 2 championships in NXT in very short order. So I think this works. Like I said, I think this was probably my favorite match of the night. I think it was easily my favorite match of the night.
Derek, I think you're right. I believe it was Fallon Henley that she defended that against that the first match. I think the first was against Fallon Henley, and then the second was against Shada Parker, I believe.
And how did I not remember that? She defended against Fallon Henley on my birthday.
Look at this guy.
But
also, in fairness,
Derek.
In fairness, Derek, I do think I'm going to start calling her Falcon just because.
I know. I was just thinking that Derek X. I'm sure it was an autocorrect or something like that, but it Falcon Henley, and I'm like,
well, but listen, I think that gives her a lot more of an edge as Falcon than it does Falcon.
As part of Fatal Influence, yeah.
And
hey, I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of myself for not saying Fatal Attraction. I usually do that. All right, let's go to the Vision, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker with Paul Heyman in their corner versus the Usos. This went 17 minutes and 12 seconds, and we saw the Vision go over. I, again, talking about like overhyped, overproduced and stuff. I again enjoyed this match for what it was, just kind of turning off the analyst brain and, watching it. I enjoyed it. It was fun seeing Jay and Jimmy again in the ring, together after a couple of years, not really, not tagging, really since the whole bloodline. I guess my dog's going to go out. I'm upstairs, so that sucks. But yeah, not tagging since the whole bloodline thing. So it was, definitely a lot of fun on that respect. Bronson and Braun, I really love them together as a tag team. I think they've got some great chemistry. Let me throw to Kevin to talk about this, and I'm going to go and deal with my Corbin.
All right, tell Corbin hi for us.
Hey, Corbin, everybody says hi.
Awesome. Well, then I will take it to say, and I just wanted to circle back quick on the women's match, just to say I was listening to the week of shows leading up to this, and there was some mixed feeling on if Stephanie should have won, because they thought, well, maybe it's a little too soon. Iyo is a pretty recognizable name, and the two things that popped in my head when Stephanie won was, is this a chance for Iyo to get some time off? Because I know they've kind of been cycling both men and women superstars to give them a little bit of a break from the grind. So I wondered, maybe that's a reason. And then I also think, too, it's smart because Stephanie is new to WWE, but she's not new to wrestling. And I think oftentimes it can be hard for fans of one product that don't watch other products to not know that, or maybe not realize that. And so I think she certainly has the cachet to be a champ. She certainly has the presence in WWE. And I think if I were to try to get into the head of the bookers, which we know is a fool's errand in some cases, is here's a chance where we have a new superstar that we can strap a rocket to and let her go for a little bit versus letting her come in, be the shiny new toy, and then just sort of flounder. And so I think if you're going to do it, now would be the time to do it because we're still a while away from even talking WrestleMania yet. She can probably hold the belt through the rest of the year at the very least. Um, and I can see having great matches with, and they can be face. They don't have to all be face heel, but I think she'd do great against Rhea. She'd do great against, um, uh, and either if Asuka wants a crack at her, I think she can really put together some good matches that'll help build her up, and then come January when we start talking Rumble, then we can start figuring out kind of what's next. But I don't see any reason why she can't hang on to it um, through the end of the year. I don't know. What do you think, Dave?
No, I completely agree with that. And like you said, backpedaling a little bit. To me, that was the match of the night. I'm a huge Iyo Sky and Stephanie Vaquer are two of my very favorite wrestlers. Period, men or women. The match and going back to Evolution, the match that Iyo Sky had against Rhea Ripley, that was phenomenal. That was, in my mind, that was a match of the year candidate. This matched it. I mean, you've got two super over women in the company. They love Iyo Sky. I was really curious to see how the crowd would react to both of them. And when Alicia Taylor announced their names, both of them got huge, massive pops from the crowd. And Iyo has already proven herself. She can go. I mean, that girl can go with the best of them. She is phenomenal. But I think the factor in this was maybe not necessarily time off for her, but she is kind of involved in this drama with Asuka and Kairi Sane right now. So I'm kind of thinking along the lines of maybe she's going to kind of fall back into that, situation with Asuka and Kairi.
Yeah.
Stephanie Vaquer, they have strapped a rocket to her since they put her on the main roster. I've been so critical of WWE for dropping the ball with NXT wrestlers as they move up to the main roster. They 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 handled Asuka okay for a little bit, but still most of the time they've dropped the ball. Look what they did with Adam Cole when they moved him up. They didn't do anything. They didn't do. They wanted him to be Keith Lee's manager.
Yeah,
for crying out loud. So
Yeah.
they have dropped the ball so many times, and I'm so glad they did not do that with Stephanie. They kept her the way she was. They put her in there. They didn't change anything. She's the same character. They built her up. They had her involved in some great matches. The fans love her. When she was even introduced at the Royal Rumble, the fans immediately recognized her. And so, they love her. She is as over can get. She is a superstar. She's going to be around for a very long time, and I see no reason why she can't have a super long title run. And as you said, Kevin, she can have great matches with everyone, be it face or heel, and she proved that tonight with Iyo Sky. So that was easily, I mean, in my mind, the mixed tag came close, but that women's title match was just off the charts, super good, and I was happy to see Stephanie get it. I think she deserves it.
Yeah. Sorry, Nate. We circled back to the women's match because we had thoughts on our brain to share with that, but I can get back on track now that you're here if you'd like.
Hey, that's quite all right. You filled the time while I had to go run downstairs.
You didn't give us a chance to talk about it. You went immediately to the Usos. So it was like, hey.
Oh, did I really?
That's okay. Listen, it's okay. It's okay. I think the thing that I like most about the tag match was that the commentators refer to them as the Bronze. And I don't know why that tickles me, but it's hilarious every time they do it, as like almost trying to poke fun at something that if you said to their face, they probably wouldn't be too happy with that. I think someone, I forget now who made a comment. It may have, I don't want to misattribute it. Somebody made a comment about the Bronze being the tag champs instead of the Judgment Day, and I could 1000% get behind that because I think Um, I think I want to make sure I tread lightly here because I know Nate, you and Kelly and I and Tom, I think probably this is back when Tom was still on the show, were so adamant about Undisputed Era having all of the belts for a period to really sort of cement they're the ones to beat whether you like it or not. And so, not that I'm comparing the vision to the Undisputed Era, but I think if your leader's going to have a belt and the tag team are bigger and more menacing and more realistically butt kickers than your champion, they need to have belts too. And so I don't know if maybe that might happen in Perth or it might happen at Survivor Series, but I think to put the tag belts on them, knowing that both would have to carry them over their shoulders, because I can't imagine either fitting around a waist of theirs. Um, I think that's the way to go. And then I think the fun that Paul Heyman could have knowing that all four members of his faction, Becky included, are champions. I mean, that's merch, that's storyline. I think it just makes a lot of sense.
And then they
And
also
so,
have Brock in their back pocket.
and potentially now
Oh.
with the introduction by Paul Heyman, you got your wild card. But I think that would do a lot of good. And honestly, and I think I'm a Wyatt Six apologist in a lot of ways, and I want them to catch on, but I don't think the belts are doing anything for them. And so let's put them on someone. Let's put them on someone that can tell a story with them, and I don't think they need them clearly, but I think if you really want to hammer home the point that this is the bar you're trying to get to, I think the gold helps make that a better point. So I thought the match was good overall. As someone who's been watching the Usos for the better part of their 13 or 14 year WWE run, even my wife, she was in the living room while we were watching, and when they came out of the crowd, she's like, "Oh, they're buddies again?" And I was like, "Yes, they're buddies again." And like even so much where my two daughters have up to this point referred to Jay as Good Uso and Jimmy as Bad Uso because we play their music in the car on the way to school some mornings. And I said, no, they're both Good Uso now. And so it was good to see them together again. And I think it was interesting that they coordinated their outfits. But I think what has been cool in watching them evolve is they now very much have their own individual single styles. And it's just so easy for them to get back into the tag team mix that part you don't really have to worry about. And so I thought it was cool that even though their attire coordinated, it wasn't the same. And they each kind of have their own edge and their own character, but they can still be a team when they need to be. And so yeah, I thought it worked well. I thought there were some spots that were very heavily set up to be something, but I think all four worked really well together. I think what I love about the Bronze is you feel the impact of what they're doing. And I think that's still kind of huge in today's wrestling game where you and the crowd want to feel that big guys are doing big things. And I don't think there's any question that when they do things, you're like, oh, that could have actually really hurt. I don't know. So I like that feeling. So yeah, overall, I liked it. I'm not surprised that the bad guys won. And I think the piece that will stick out to me, at least until next week, was right as Braun was getting the 3 count, the table flopped over Jimmy. Like kind of right as the 3 count was coming. And I was like, I know that there was no way you could have planned that, but it was so cool to just sort of see it flop over him at the end.
Yeah, no, I really like that. And again, there was no way of planning that. Jimmy, was it who was it? Was Jimmy? Yeah, Jimmy. In the corner. Got thrown through that table, leaning up in the corner. And yeah, as the 3 count was being made, the top of that table just comes down, and it just like even the table was like, I'm making the pin here. It was, I liked it. You couldn't have planned that, and I think it added so much to just that little visual to the finish. But no, I agree with you in a lot of respects here. I thought it was a fun match. Braun Breaker As much as I hate the name, and I still hate the name, it I don't know, it's working for him. When they first announced him as Braun Breaker down in NXT 2.0, I'm like, there is no way he's ever going to like be on the main roster with that name, and here he is. I figured after a while they'd probably, I mean, obviously they talk about him having the Steiner lineage, but I figured they might go in that direction.
Well, if what I read is true, Braun has been very adamant that he does not want to be Steiner, for the purposes of establishing his own legacy. So
yeah. But yeah, David, on the tag match.
I liked it a lot. I thought it was very good, and I agree with Kevin. I think the fact that the Usos were always a great tag team, but I think the fact that both of them branched out and found individual success, obviously Jay much more than Jimmy, it gave them their own individual characters and made them stronger when they came back as a team tonight, because now it just, you know, they are better as a team than they are singles. But the fact that they did step out of their comfort zone and do the singles thing, I think now's a great time for them to come back. I do believe, I also agree with Kevin about the Bronze, and just think, what if they brought in Braun Strowman as part of it now? Wouldn't that be?
At this point, find everybody that has a name like that.
But I had that thought actually a couple days ago. Yeah.
The Wyatt Six, they do not need the tag belts at all, and I know that they have challenged, because they have challenged Psycho Clown and Pagano for the AAA tag team belts. So that's the thing that they can possibly do, and but yeah, I think the division, which I did not care for at first, I'm starting to warm up to them though, as a faction, and I think them having the belts would really complete the division. With Becky having her belt, and Paul Heyman would just be having belts hanging all over him, just smiling from ear to ear,
His own version of the Ula Fala.
Oh yeah, I could, attach each one together.
Ooh, the title Fala, the belt of Fala. Now we got to figure out, because that's going to be merch too. That's going to be something you can buy.
Yeah.
But yeah, they make a great team. I mean, those shoulder tackles that Braun's been doing lately, I'm like, wow, the same explosiveness as the spear, and that double spear through the table. Man, I mean, they're at the end. They went at it there at the end, and and again, I think this was a match that over delivered. It wasn't the best on the card, but in my opinion, it was much better than I anticipated it to be.
Yeah. No, and I don't necessarily disagree. It was, again, you used the word spectacle earlier tonight, and that's really what this show was supposed to be. This show was more of a spectacle than anything. Obviously, as we talked about earlier, and as I found out, because I didn't know until we were talking about it, they did kind of put this show together pretty quickly, due to ESPN wanting the show put together quicker than they expected. But it I don't know. I mean, it was I still enjoyed watching it as a wrestling fan. Again, switch off that analyst brain and the what we talk about here normally and just kind of watch the show. I had fun watching the show tonight. But that's, again, that's what they were going for tonight was really that whole spectacle thing. And I kind of lost where I was going with that, but that's okay. And that happens to me more often than you'd think. The inclusion of LA Knight as the special guest referee, that was one of the things I wanted to mention. We didn't talk about that. That was, I think it was on the pre-show where they got into everybody in the match got into a bit of a scuffle backstage. Adam Pearce broke it up and was like, And then a little bit later on said, showed him in a segment backstage where he said that he needs somebody to be able to control this match that has a little bit of what was it, anger or something like that? I forget. Did he use he had
Something
an
like that.
adjective.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a lot of energy or anger or something. I'm sure somebody will correct me in the chat. And then LA Knight walks on the screen and he's announced as special guest referee. I kind of liked the fact. Oh, and one of the things that he said was that it was the rules were going to be loosely followed, or something to that
See, you
effect.
wanted continuity. They were just
There you
taking their lead from
Well,
LA Knight the rest of the night.
you know what? I guess so. At least here they had a reason for it, man. God. But that aside, but no, like the spot where I forget who it was outside the ring. I think it was Bronson was trying to hit
Bronson. It was
Jimmy
Bronson Reed and
and maybe
Jimmy
Jay.
Uso, or Jimmy. I don't know. They're interchangeable.
Yeah, I don't remember. But went to go use the chair, and then like LA Knight was like, just turned around and was like, yeah, whatever. I think that added some extra flair to the match, and at least, like I said, it gave a reason for it to happen. It wasn't just the ref turning their back, and as we see so often, the ref just doesn't see stuff. Like Jessica Carr didn't see that tag. On AJ Lee tagged in earlier in the night.
Jessica didn't see a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I know. Jessica, as much as I love you.
It was done masterfully, though. I mean, I remember when Punk was reaching, not to get off subject, but when Punk was reaching to tag AJ, the minute he got close, the minute that Becky saw him getting close to tag, she immediately jumped in the ring, got Jessica's attention. Boom, hot tag was made. Becky goes back to her corner. Ref turns around. Jessica turns around. Didn't see the tag. They did it. They did it beautifully. It wasn't obvious. That's the only thing I have. That's the only issue I really have with things like that is when the referee should definitely be looking at something, and it seems like they're just blind and they miss it. But in this case, they did a great job of distracting Jessica Carr, and so I've got no complaints with that at all. But LA Knight, they teased a lot of tension. There was the dive that Jay did, out of the ring when Bronson and LA were kind of getting into it a little bit, and LA stepped back. He's like, "Well, hey, was that meant for me? Did you mean that for me? Was that for me? Because that was it." And then at that one point, Jay was gonna hit one of them with a chair, and they moved out of the way, and he came about that close to hitting LA Knight. He held it. He pulled back and didn't hit him with it. We did not get a ref bump, surprisingly. I really thought that LA Knight would probably get his bell rung by somebody. It didn't happen, but they definitely teased the tension there with the Usos. So LA Knight was a factor in the match, and made it a little more acceptable. The fact that the rules kind of went out the window because he turned his back when he enforced rules when he wanted to, and turned his back when he wanted to.
Well, but Dave, I tell you, I'll give him a lot of credit because in the same way that I thought that the mixed tag did well in sort of towing the line of intergender contact, I like that he was able to be in there. He's a personality, and people like the performer, the superstars were responding to him, but he didn't cause the finish. He didn't call, you know what I mean? Like it was the right amount of guest referee who you might expect to be involved in some way. And again, in those micro segments of getting in the way out of it, fine. But like in a Raw main event or a SmackDown main event, that would have been the reason for the finish. And then everyone's like, well, what the hell? And so I do think they tiptoed that line really well.
Yeah, I agree.
And then I just want to make sure to see if either of you, Derek asked us about the leather jackets that the Bronze came down in. I don't personally have any thoughts other than I liked the the Rhea Ripley inspired spikes of Bronson Reed's, but I don't know if either of you guys want to make sure because he did ask that question.
I mean, for me, like I thought it looked cool. Yeah, I didn't really think about it as like, Dick Murdoch, Magnum TA down in Carolinas back in the day. But that's also like well before my time as a wrestling
Good
fan.
reminder though, Derek. So yeah, because
Yeah,
I do remember that. That was my era, being the elder of the trio on camera right now. I do remember that stuff.
but I thought it was a good look. What about you, David?
Yeah, I liked it. I definitely. Yeah, I thought it was a great look for him.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, and our opening match of the night, Brock Lesnar defeating John Cena in 8 minutes and 50 seconds.
Brock Lesnar massacring John Cena in 8
Yeah,
minutes and 50
there
seconds.
was a before the match. They obviously they show a little bit of a hype video leading up to the match, and I don't remember if it was either on the pre-show or was on the hype video leading up to this match. I don't remember, but they were showing a clip of Raw Talk, and Sam Roberts was talking about how a lot of Brock Lesnar's matches just kind of make you uncomfortable. They're like, you know, like when Suplex City was born, I think that was WrestleMania 32, if I'm not mistaken. When he just kept German suplexing John Cena over and over and over again. Like that's a match. Remember,
I was reminded of that tonight. That's
yeah,
the first thing I thought. I was like, this is pretty similar to that, because I actually loved that match, because you had that was during the Super Cena era,
yeah,
where he could defeat Godzilla with one finger, with one hand tied behind his back. He could beat Godzilla. And then Brock Lesnar comes in there and just mops the mat with him. And so it wasn't quite that bad this time, but yeah, it was a brutal beatdown. Yeah. Brock's offense does make you uncomfortable, and I like that.
yeah.
Somebody said, I think it was during the pre-show. I forget who it was, but it said that when Brock Lesnar comes out into the arena, the air in the arena changes, and it does. I think it was Joe Tessitore that said that, and he's right, because the air changes when he comes out, because everyone knows that they're in for something that might be a little bit uncomfortable to watch, but it's something they can't miss. Something they can't look away. You can't look away from it. And he looks bigger and badder than he ever has.
I do really like the look he's got going right now with the long hair, the beard, mountain man looking even more so than he has in the past. And he does. He looks more jacked now than he did in 2003. So yeah. Whether or not Brock Lesnar should be back in the company aside, and I don't necessarily want to go down that rabbit hole. Although we can if we want, I guess, if people want to talk about that. But he does have an aura. He does have a presence. I've been in the building, when he's made his entrance, and actually it was when he run the Royal Rumble in 04 or 05. It was here in the Boston area. Well, it was in Boston. I'm in the Boston area.
I was going to say, wait a minute.
Yeah, it was in Boston. I was sitting in the absolute nosebleeds last row, but I was there for it. And he's always had that aura, that presence. He's an attraction, undoubtedly. And I think, as we were kind of talking about the show, and I know I said that I thought maybe this might go on last, but the more I think about it, I think this makes sense going on first. It's WWE's first go on ESPN. Everybody knows who John Cena is. I mean, he's a massive movie star now. People who don't follow wrestling, they if you ask them who John Cena is, most of them have probably heard his name before at this point. So you've got that, and then Brock Lesnar. He is a crossover star, with UFC and NCAA and all of that. Somebody that they would want to talk about on ESPN. So I think that, it certainly makes sense for this to kind of kick off the show. You know, and Brock getting the win. Man, there was a big part of me pulling for Cena to like get that second win over Brock, but I think this works. You keep Brock strong. Cena, obviously, he's leaving the company. You do the favors for people as you're leaving. Even though I'm not sure if he's going to lose his last match. I'm assuming he probably will wind up losing his last match, whatever it is. But I don't know. There's part of me that doesn't want to see that either. I want to see him go out with his hand raised. But yeah, brutal match here. You know, I think it was Derek. Derek said not quite the beatdown like SummerSlam 2014, but close, and it certainly was. And it's exactly what I figured it was going to be. You know, in terms of content in the match, I figured Brock would probably win, but in terms of the actual match like structure, a lot of F5s, a lot of, I was going to say FU because they actually brought that up tonight. How
They
he treated him like an FU.
Yeah, but the attitude adjustment, and you know, German suplexes and stuff. It was a typical Brock Lesnar match, but it still the word of the night is spectacle, and that's really what it was. You know, I like what Derek says here. Brock's a bully, and it'd be interesting to see what he does next. As much as people don't want him in the company, it doesn't bother me as much as others. Brock brings the credibility and legitimacies to the WWE with the sports background. And like, I don't know, I'm so torn on it because like I read that entire court document from top to bottom. I couldn't stop. I didn't think I was going to read it, but I did. And it's really hard for me at this point to separate what I read from the person on TV. Whether it's true or not is still, I guess, yet to be determined, and all of that. But Derek does make a point. He does bring legitimacy to the company. There is WWE obviously sees value there. They believe that he's going to bring more value than bring harm to the company. So I don't know. I'm yeah, I don't know. He's back. And we'll talk about it, I guess, because yeah. So anyway, what do we think about Pat McAfee just kind of like leaving in the middle of the show?
Did he have to get back for like game day stuff? Like I know he started the day on game day in the morning.
Oh, I
must
no
have flown. Idea. Well, he was on game day because the last thing he did was jump off a 10-meter high dive to make his pick for one of the games. Like got down into swim trunks, dumped off, made his pick, and then I imagine he probably got the heck out, got on a plane to get to Indianapolis. But I wonder if he had to be back, or at least be in a studio setting to respond to college football stuff because he was part of that earlier.
That could certainly be.
He didn't even say goodbye. They just, kept.
Yeah, he was just gone.
Cole and Barrett, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're glad Pat was out here." It's like, where'd he go? Didn't even know he was leaving. So
thanks for coming for a cup of coffee.
Yeah,
but he just brings the chaos.
I'll tell you what, but getting a little bit back to the Brock Lesnar situation. Here's. I know a lot of people feel differently about it. A lot of people are torn about this. If somebody is, if somebody's maybe not be the greatest person in the world, but they make a great fried chicken for me, I'm still going to like their fried. I don't have to like that person to like how they make fried chicken. They might make spectacular fried chicken. That doesn't make them a good person necessarily, but that's what Brock Lesnar is, and he does bring something special to the company. I'm looking at the character Brock Lesnar, not necessarily the person. That's up in the air. I have no comment on that until we find out everything. I'm not going to condemn anyone without any proof of stuff going on. But as far as being a spectacle, yeah, bring it on. The minute Brock Lesnar comes out there, like you said, everybody knows who John Cena is, even non-wrestling fans. Non-wrestling fans know who Brock Lesnar is. And that was just, and I think you knew what was coming when Brock left the show. The other day, he looked right into the camera and was like, "Hey, see you at WrestlePalooza, bitch." I'm like,
Oh.
okay, you know what's coming.
Yep.
You knew what was coming, and you knew it was going, and that is exactly what I expected to be. Cena sold it like a champ. By the time he left the ring, he looked like he'd been hit by a truck, which he essentially was, because like you said, Brock Lesnar, he I swear every time he comes back, he's bigger than ever, and just he was massive. And that mountain man look. That is great for him. That's a great look for him. And on a side note, I gotta admit, I got a kick out of him ripping his pants after he F5'd R-Truth there.
That was
And
funny.
he was even making fun of himself. So that was funny. But yeah, that was what it should have been. Just a brutal beat down. I think they should, probably stretch this out to to Survivor Series, and eventually, what I would look to happen is be after maybe another match, have Cena go over Lesnar. I think that should be his final match, going over Lesnar, and then just like Brock did with Cody Rhodes a while back, he could acknowledge Cena, shake his hand, and he can ride off into the sunset and do whatever it is Brock does up in Canada or wherever it is he in the
Make
wilderness
sausage.
he lives, and make sausage, whatever he does. And Cena can go off and make more movies, and I think everybody will be happy.
Now I'm just thinking about fried chicken.
Well, I'm waiting for Brock to start making the T-shirts, man. Let's go. I'm sure LFC shirts would fly off the shelves at the next PLE.
Yes, Lesnar fried chicken. Thank you, Brock Bedingfield in the chat. Say Lesnar fried chicken or Lesnar fighting championship, LFC.
Well, if I might, I think, and Dave, I'm with you because I know my wife watched most of the show on and off as she was also doing other things, but I think she looked up and she saw Brock, and it's tough, right? Because certainly there is very heavy accusation and very heavy implication in that report, Nate. But if it's tough, right? Because if we are to believe in our American judicial system, good, bad, or otherwise, if he hasn't been formally charged for anything, then he's still technically a free man until something happens. And so why can't companies make commercial gain from it? But on the other hand, do you want to open yourself up to that, even knowing he hasn't been charged? I don't know if either of you guys saw it. And I told my wife I'd only bring it up if the topic came up. But if you were watching the shot up in the top, the top this way, there was a gentleman sitting in the corner that had a sign that said, "Nobody wants him here, and we all know why." And it went up, and as soon as it went up, it came right back down. And so I don't know if somebody got to it and said, "You're not putting that sign up again," or if he just was like, "All right, I know I was on camera, I saw the red light on," and then he put it down. But I saw that and I pointed that out to my wife, and she's like, well, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people feel like that. And I said, I'm sure there's a good percentage of people that feel like that. And so I think, good, bad, or otherwise, for the rest of the time that Brock is under a contract, that is going to follow him. And he certainly doesn't seem fazed by it. I don't know that he's actually addressed it either off record or on record, which is fine. But I think if I can now sort of compartmentalize that and come back to the match, I think I was kind of surprised that it was only an 8-minute match.
Yeah, it was very
I don't know
short.
that I expected it to be as squashy as it was. And to be quite frank, knowing how many dates Cena has left, in my opinion, I don't know, with the people that I'm sure you still want to put him in front of, do you want to use one of those single-digit dates on a rematch with Brock for him to presumably get his W back? And so I assumed that Cena was going to win in maybe 12 or 15 minutes as a way of sort of putting that to bed to move on to the next thing. Because I think that was the big thing that stuck out to me was, do you really want to use one of those dates on a rematch when you could have just kind of moved on? But I think that's the only thing that really stuck out to me was how short it was, how abruptly it ended, because I did think that was going to go a little bit longer. And I think I did think that Cena was going to win purely because he, like I said, what does he have, like 7 dates left or something like that? And we still have 4 months of the year left, so
I thought it would be a massacre because, and for a couple of reasons. Number one, Cena goes out there and he admits that, yeah, am I scared of Brock Lesnar? Yes, I am. Will I win? Maybe not, but I will give 100% and all that, and that's pretty much gave it away that he was going to get his butt handed to him on a silver platter, which he did. And so, and Brock Lesnar's, this is a match that I don't think you want to just have once and then just say, okay, that was nice, let's move on to something else. What else are you going to move on to with Cena? Really, what else is there for him to do? To me, Brock is the pinnacle for Cena, and again, I think they should, this should have been exactly what it was: Brock Lesnar eating Cena's lunch, and then I think there should possibly be another rematch with maybe some kind of a schmoz or some kind of a non-finish, and then I think the final match, I would go. Honestly, I would go with something like either a cage match or possibly even Hell in a Cell, and something particularly brutal, and let Cena just let it all hang out and just beat the living daylights out of Lesnar, and have them both beat and bloodied, but have Cena come out on top, and then Lesnar shows give him his flowers at the end of the match, and like I said, then they both go off and do what they do. But I'm not going to get into the politics of this stuff. Everybody has their own opinion. I read some of that stuff. But again, I still listen to Gary Glitter songs. If you know who that is and what he's done, I can still enjoy his music. I can still, I'm good at separating that kind of stuff from the people behind the art. If you're not that type of person, that's fine. That's there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't mind Lesnar being there. I think it improved the show. I think as you were saying here, Nate, this tonight was all about spectacle, and I expected them to literally blow up the field house and go all out and go way, way, way overboard. And they did. And that's what I expected. It's their first show on ESPN. They don't want to make a splash. They want all the water to come flying out of the pool and land on everyone. That's what they wanted, and that's what they did. And I think they did a fantastic job of it tonight.
And I'll just circle back, Dave, quick. You mentioned the butt on the silver platter, and I thought, let's be real. With Cena's money, that was not a silver platter. That was probably a gold or something better. They could afford something a little bit better than silver, I imagine.
Oh, I'm sure. Like diamond encrusted or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So as we wrap up here, David, this show, thumbs up, thumbs down, or in the middle?
Oh, definite thumbs up for me. No
Kevin.
doubt.
Oh, sorry. No, David, continue your thought.
No, I would just say, yeah, definite thumbs up. I think it's one of the better PLEs I've seen for a while.
Fair enough. Kevin?
Yeah, I would also give it a thumbs up. I think, I think here's the deal. At the end of the day, and I saw comments early in the chat, and I don't disagree with any of them, but I think part of it has to be like, set your expectation to start. Never mind what they're telling you to think. You know what the card looks like. You know kind of what they're trying to do. Go in with your expectation and just sort of enjoy it for what it is. And I think it's far easier to get enjoyment out of these things than when someone is super hypercritical about every little thing. And so I choose to be not hypercritical because I want to kind of be in the moment the best I can. So I thought it was a thumbs up too. Again, I don't think any of the matches did not deliver. I thought they all at least met the standard. And as Dave pointed out, the tag team match kind of rose above it. We all gushed about Iyo versus Stephanie. The mixed tag did what it needed to do, and then of course, Cody got his big pop, and I think Drew is still very much a player. So I think it did all the things that it needed to do, and I can't imagine any of the ESPN folks, kind of walking out going, shaking their head like it was a waste. I think it did fine. It wasn't meant to be Mania, but it was meant to be. Here's who our top current people are. Here's some of our top kind of past and torch passing people are. And I think that's the other reason why you did not see overall a lot of interference and non-finishes, is because they wanted this first ESPN show to be a better representation of kind of what is going on. So yeah, I definitely, all that to say, thumbs up from me too.
All right. And for me, I think it's a thumbs in the middle, leaning thumbs up. I like I said earlier, I enjoyed the show. But like I said, some of the little nuances of the matches, like the rules getting thrown out during AJ Lee and all that, even though it was supposed to be a spectacle, and that, again, word of the night, it just ended up taking me out of some of the moments in the match and matches, when they occurred. But again, overall, I still enjoyed the show. I think it, like Kevin said, I think the ESPN execs are going to be happy with what it is. I'm curious to see what the numbers are going to be for ESPN. How many new signups and everything, how many people were really willing to pay $30 for ESPN if they didn't have it as part of their cable package. How many people maybe VPN'd and Netflixed it. I don't know if there's really a way to give that statistic, but man, I'd love to know.
Now, did you guys see, and I don't know if it was a parody or a verified account, because now, you can pay for the blue check regardless.
Yeah.
But there was a Vince McMahon tweet earlier in the day that basically said, I can't wait to watch this on ESPN, or I can't wait to watch this tonight, but you'll have to give me a few minutes because I'm going to have to get my VPN set up so I can watch on Netflix or something.
There's no way it's.
I can't imagine it was, but like, it just was like, oh, that's hilarious, no matter what.
No, it's actually kind of funny to me just to think about Vince trying to use technology.
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah,
but I agree with you as someone who studies and teaches marketing at the college level. I think I am surprised at how big of a player and how meticulous ESPN is about everything, that they would not have sent out an email or sent out a tweet or sent out something to its legion of users and subscribers, no matter the platform. So like, a lot of us have it through that ESPN, Hulu, Disney bundle. A lot of people just have ESPN standalone. But the fact that so many people, it sounds like, had to either go to the web to find out for sure, or were relying on sort of third-party people to tell them, and not have ESPN not explicitly say, if A, then here's how you get it. If B, then here's how you do it. If C, here's how you do it. Just blows my mind, because they are so meticulous about everything else. So,
no, the very, very good point. And I'm actually glad we have you on the show tonight to actually talk about a lot of that, because you're the man to talk to about that. But yeah, so I think that's going to bring us to the end of our show. I'm Nate Lindberg. I'm a co-host of PWT Talks NXT here on the PWTorch Daily Cast. Kevin, who are you?
I am Kevin P. Cattani. You can find me in the Twitterverse at KP Cattani. And I don't know, how would you describe me? The cagey veteran that's just always in the bullpen, warm, ready to go. Yes. I make many more appearances on the NXT post show, but when Greg was still running Wrestling Night in America, and even now in its current iteration, I also help out with that too. And I'm always honored to be here. So Nate, thanks for asking. And Dave, what a pleasure to meet you. I hope we can do another show again in the future. So yeah, that's me. Come holler at me.
Indeed, and David.
Yeah, and yeah, Kevin, definitely nice to meet you here. You will see me on Tuesday nights doing the Alt Perspective report for NXT. And then on Wednesday nights, I cover WWE Evolve on Tubi. So you can catch my reports on Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights for that. And I am part-time co-host whenever Kelly is off doing whatever it is that he does sometimes. So
Yeah, we never know what Kelly does.
yeah, I was like, hey, Kelly's not there. Can you make it? Yeah, sure, I'll join Nate. Absolutely.
and I always appreciate it when you guys are able to fill in last minute. And it was even a last minute fill in tonight. I was supposed to have a different co-host tonight, and it worked. It just kind of worked out this way. So, but yeah.
Also, sorry, Nate. Before we go, I just wanted to say hi to Derek, who was very active today, because I hear his name all the time on the Monday and Friday post shows. So it's always cool to interact with people that I hear from all the time, and here we are interacting. So it was nice to meet you too, Derek. And of course, Brock and our other chat folks. Always great to. I still think the Torch has the best chats in the podcasting space. So
no, yeah, we appreciate you guys in the chats a whole. Yeah, we appreciate you guys in the chats a whole lot. And to whoever it was that said it earlier, I appreciate your comment about the lights behind me. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, the lights are cool. The lights are definitely cool. But no, everybody in the chat definitely appreciate all the interaction and everything. Come join us on Tuesday nights after NXT. We're always having a good time, whether it's Kelly or I, David or I, Kevin and I. I'm usually there. I don't have a life.
You're the common denominator.
But no, we're always appreciative for everybody in the chat. Go VIP. I don't think I've said that at all throughout the course of this show. So PWTorch / go VIP to become VIP, get a whole bunch of ad-free content and a whole bunch of awesome other content, podcasts and columns and a bunch of wrestling history dating back to the dawn of time. And I say that just because I don't remember the year off the top of my head. Sorry, Wade. But for Wrestling Night in America, I'm Nate Lindberg, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.